stolen money from anywhere, be it from our taxpayers, be it from anyone. I have never done so.
To expand on this, we're joined by Jashwin Baijoo, who's a legal manager at African Tax and Compliance, to talk about legislation that governs how much one is allowed to hold in foreign currency. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a problem, I suppose, that puts the president in a rather precarious position, because it appears as though he was trying to evade paying tax on the sale, or he's either contravened various fiscal and currency control laws. What do you make of his response?
Good evening, Gordon. Thank you for having me. So, as a starting point, what needs to be considered is there is a limit on South African banknotes that may be kept within the Republic by an individual. All right, this limit is a maximum of 25,000 rands. This pertains to travelers coming in and out of the Republic, as well as individuals storing cash on their person. However, on the flip side, when it comes to foreign currency, and as can be seen on the website for the South African Revenue Service, there is an unlimited amount of foreign currency. But this specifically refers to when a traveler is entering or leaving the Republic. Now, a point to note there is something known as the Common Monetary Area, which includes South Africa, Namibia, and Eswatini. With regards to the actual foreign exchange element, and as was mentioned, allegedly a sum of $4 million being kept in cash, there are regulations in our exchange control regulations, as well as the Currency and Exchange Acts, which can be more simply explained by certain external memos, and one specifically speaks to excess currency, which notes that when providing a foreign exchange, customers must be aware, and made so by their authorized dealer, who is someone who is confirmed and authorized by National Treasury, that foreign exchange provided may only be utilized for the purposes for which it was made available. Point one, foreign currency may be purchased by a traveler 60 days before departure. Point two, but most importantly, and this is probably the most relevant to the allegations being made, is that any unused foreign currency must be resold forthwith to an authorized dealer within 30 days, which means in the event of foreign currency being held for a rather lengthy time, there are certain declarations that need to be made. But further to that, there is the possibility of search and seizure. Now, with regards to especially large sums where transactions are involved, a South African or client, for record-keeping purposes, must keep all documentary evidence for a period of 5 years. This includes books, accounts, and documents in respect of the transactions, as well as any data related to such documents being created, if by means of a computer. In the instance at hand, and in light of the allegations made against the president, there are possible avenues to explore. And further to this, it must be noted that this could also pertain possibly to offshore accounts, offshore investments. And in light of the new automatic exchange of information, which the South African Revenue Service was very out there about in the budget speech earlier this year, there is a very strong likelihood that an authority such as SARS may get involved here and engage revenue authorities in other jurisdictions, including Namibia, to ascertain if there was, in fact, any issue or non-declaration, as is alleged.
With authorities which could get involved in this matter, I mean, the president has said that he's open to cooperating with any form of investigation. And he's emphasized this afternoon that the amount stolen is far less than what is reported. So when the authorities get involved, what sort of questions will they be posing to him in efforts to try and understand whether he broke any laws?
So we must bear in mind that the Promotion of Administrative Justice Act, also known as PAJA, does give effect to everyone's right to administrative action that is lawful, reasonable, and procedurally fair, which means as a starting point, in any sort of investigation, including the possible investigation at hand, there is something known as the Audi Alterum Partem rule, which directly translates to the right to be heard. Now, when looking at the possibility of any sort of charges or any sanctions in this instance, and these could range from monetary penalties to suspension or cancellation of a deferment account, registration, license, accreditation, or designation, which is quite noteworthy. The questions that could possibly be seen being asked are, with what intention was this money supposedly held? Was it a transactional intent? Was it an investment intent? Was it something akin to a transactional operation, as has been advised, especially with reference to the sale of livestock? And are there supporting documents to back this up? Were these amounts correctly declared to the relevant authorities, one of which being the South African Reserve Bank? Was approval received in the event of an offshore buyer sending money in? Because the South African Reserve Bank speaks to approvals and endorsements for both inbound and outbound flow of funds. If it was in foreign currency, how was this money transferred into the country? Was it done so by means of a forex account? Is the relevant proof there in terms of the documentary burden being discharged? And that is just the tip of the iceberg of questions that would need answers.
Very well. Perhaps, as you ask those very important questions, the president said offshore customers normally come with huge amounts of cash because he's in the business of farming. He's a farmer. He's in the cattle and game farming business. And as he spoke and addressed the media this afternoon, he spoke in a way that makes it seem like, it's not the end of the world. Foreign customers, offshore customers come in with cash sometimes, and that's just the nature of my business. Is that enough?
So look, it's rightfully speaking, it may not be the end of the world, but when it comes to a foreigner entering South Africa, especially with an excess amount of currency, yes, there is regulation or best practice stating that you may travel with an unlimited amount of foreign currency. However, these amounts must still be declared to customs. So that is the first check that will need to happen. Secondly, if these amounts are not declared to customs, a further investigation would need to be made. And a starting point for that would be what the implications are in light of the automatic exchange for information, which was mentioned a few moments back. Because this basically is an exchange of information open between the South African Revenue Service as well as any foreign revenue service. And in the event of large amounts of cash flowing between jurisdictions, either transactionally or in physical cash, either revenue authority needs to be made aware of it. And if one is aware, just by virtue of this current process, the other can become aware with a simple notice and request any information as pertains to offshore accounts in foreign currency. Further to that, with individuals traveling with large sums of money, it would automatically red flag as them being high net worth individuals who, if they have a South African interest, SARS would be aware of, especially in light of the creation of the high net worth unit, which we've seen taking shape over the last year.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Jashwin Baijoo, a legal manager at African Tax and Compliance, a tax consulting.